Welcome back to Rewriting the 5e PHB, the D&D show where I took the system reference document and am rewriting it step by step based on my own personal taste, and you can join me for the journey if you want. We are only using system reference document materials, which allows me to legally distribute it, and it's all available on my website in the description for free for your critique or use. And we are almost done with races. Today we are doing Dragonborn, Gnomes, and Tieflings. If you are asking why we just skipped half elf and half orc, they are now sub-races of human. So Dragonborns, am I right? Okay, it's not funny. People on the internet often complain 5e's Dragonborns are underpowered. I disagree. The only other race that gets a free damage resistance is Tieflings, and Tieflings come with being associated with literal demons. Cold and fire resistant are both fairly common damage types and give you a pass on their respective extreme weather, so if you're doing Icewind Dale or Descent to Avernus, that is huge. Heck, even if your DM just gives you a rough theme of the campaign, this can easily be the best ability in the game. But I do see some of the points, so here's what we're changing. We're handing them dark vision, and we're adjusting the breath weapon. The breath weapon is now an attack, so you can use it with multi-attack, and your strength modifier gets added to the damage. You can also empower it with a spell slot, increasing the damage by 2d6 per spell level. So what's our lore? Well, long ago, there was a dark wizard who built up his own little kingdom, and he had an army, and he thought, I could do a better army. So, using dark magics, you know the kind, the generic, he's going to capture dragons, take his soldiers, and breed them. Must be real awkward for the soldiers, but that will be how the first Dragonborns come. They were pretty cool once they were spawned, and he was working on training them to become these elite soldiers, but then his kingdom collapsed and he died, probably due to some group of adventurers taking him out. So now the Dragonborn just kind of wander the land. They can breed with any race, and as a result of their blood, the dark magic mixed in, the child will always be another Dragonborn. They also are often confused with monsters, but don't worry, clothing and language go a long way when no one recognizes your species. Also, we're giving them a -1 to wisdom. I explained it in some of the other episodes. So gnomes, am I right? Still not funny? Okay, fine. I want to start by changing their sub-races a little. With all the others, it's a bred trait. If a wood elf and a high elf breed, it's random, but if a wood elf and a wood elf breed, it's going to be wood. With gnomes, I'm going to make it more or less completely random no matter which two meet. Gnomes are also going to be created by the illusion goddess Jit. That is J-Y-T. It just felt like a gnomish word. We're lowering their strength by 1, and I felt like giving them one other trait. Free Mire Illusion. Forest gnomes aren't in the SRD, so I can't use them. And I just tied their first god to illusion. Feels fair to hand them the cantrip. They're essentially meant to be a funner version of elves when Jit made them. I did not design a second subrace. I will come back to this and flesh out their subraces a little more. For now, you get the rock gnomes from the SRD. And lastly, Tieflings, am I right? Ha ha ha, very funny. See, roll of 3, that time it was funny, I hope. Whatever. So, Tieflings I never really liked that much. I try to avoid too much demon theming in my games, so I tend to ban Tieflings and Fiend Warlocks at home. Just makes me uncomfortable, even if it sounds a little silly. But I want my version of D&D to feel like D&D, and if I ignore them, I'm kinda missing the point. I don't have any complaints about the stat block, but I do kinda prefer them not being the actively redskin variety, so we're going backwards to the ones that just have minor traits, the horns and maybe a tail that they can easily hide, so they're mostly human looking. Here's the lore I'm working with. Tieflings are often born to humans who made pacts or deals with fiends. Unlike half-elves and half-orcs, this change is much more fundamental. It's a deceiving race made by demons to try and blend in among humans. Once they lacked free will and did little beyond cause trouble for the settlements they infested. Human settlements began searching for newborns of these traits and destroying them before harm could come. Then one day, a repentant woman who once worked with a demon gave birth to one and could not bring herself to slay it or give him up to be slain. With prayers and fasting over the course of the first 2 years of its life, the attention of Sene, the elvish god, was drawn. With pity, Sene decided to draw upon her power and bless the tieflings of the world with free will. Many are still evil, but now living in hiding, or even doing good is a possibility for the race. Oh, and -1 for wisdom, they're not the cleric type. I think this is a good enough tiefling version. Be prepared for next week. I'm going to skip the classes for the moment and just go through a bunch of mechanics. But the only way to catch that is the subscribe button down below. The SRD isn't easy to navigate, so my chunk of the work will mostly be organizing. Why is a table of contents not included is all I'm saying.